All right, welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Definitely.
Awesome. So today we're looking at ASKT.
SKT.
Yeah, they make furniture, and they're trying to do this whole thing where they get rid of plastic packaging entirely. Yeah,
Wow.
and you sit over this article about it, and
Oh, right. Yeah.
it's a pretty interesting approach, pretty ambitious.
Yeah, no, and it's definitely a hot topic right now.
Mm.
Especially over in Europe, they're really starting to crack down on all this plastic waste.
Right. Yeah, the article mentions something about that.
Yeah, they're bringing in all these new rules and even like plastic taxes.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, think about it. Like all the plastic that goes into furniture, right?
Oh, tons of it.
You got your shrink wrap, and then all that foam padding, and even those little plaid.
Oh, yeah, the corner protectors.
Yeah. It all ends up, in landfills, worse, the ocean.
And that's exactly what these plastic taxes in Europe are trying to target, hit companies where it hurts their wallets.
Oh, so ASKT going plastic free, it's not just like good for the planet.
It
It's
could be good for business too, yeah.
really?
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's pretty smart. They're getting ahead of the curve. Instead of waiting for regulations to happen, they're finding solutions now.
Hmm.
And, these solutions, they could actually save them money in the long run.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and, everyone's talking about carbon footprint these days, right?
Right.
And using lighter packaging, well, that means fewer trucks, less fuel, lower emissions.
Okay, so they're thinking long term. I like that.
For sure.
But okay, so how do they actually replace all that plastic? I mean, that couldn't have been easy, right?
Yeah, it sounds like it was a pretty involved process.
The article mentioned working with like suppliers and material scientists.
Right, and a lot of testing, too. They had to make sure they could still protect the furniture during shipping without, like, compromising on quality.
Right, right.
And it definitely wasn't a quick fix. It sounds like a pretty big commitment on their part to find, the right solutions.
So they're not just like swapping one material for another, they're rethinking the whole.
The whole system, yeah. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and I was reading about this honeycomb paper they use.
Oh, yeah. That's interesting
I know,
stuff.
right? So it's made from recycled paper, which is already a good start. But,
Yeah, but the strength is what really gets me. Like, imagine a honeycomb structure, right?
Mhm.
Lightweight, but because of all those interconnected cells, it's incredibly strong.
Huh. So it's like nature's own packaging solution.
Basically,
Strong, lightweight. I mean, that sounds perfect for like shipping furniture.
yeah, it's pretty ideal.
But I mean, does it actually work? Like compared to something like plastic foam?
Well, that's what all that testing was for, right? And what they found was, yeah, it actually provides comparable protection.
Wow.
Yeah, without all the environmental downsides of the plastic foam.
Okay. And then plus it's like fully recyclable on top of that.
Exactly. You can't beat that.
So it's good for the environment, it protects the furniture, and it's recyclable. That's amazing.
Yeah, and there's another plus. Because the honeycomb paper is so light, you know what that means?
What?
They can fit more products on a single truck.
Oh, right.
So fewer shipments overall, which, means lower shipping costs.
So it saves them money and it saves customers money too.
Exactly. It's a win-win.
Okay, but speaking of the customer, like how much are they actually saving? I mean, the article mentions something about.
Oh, yeah. Well, first off, they're avoiding those plastic taxes.
Oh, right.
Which can really add up.
Yeah.
And then plus, like we were saying, the lighter packaging means lower shipping costs overall.
Especially, I imagine, for bigger items, right?
Oh, absolutely. Like if you're buying a sofa or something, the weight difference between plastic and honeycomb paper packaging,
Yeah, that could make a big difference.
big difference. So yeah, it's a good incentive for customers.
For sure, especially with those big purchases. But even beyond like the actual cost, don't you think people are like just more aware of the environment these days?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The article actually cited a few studies showing that like a huge percentage of consumers are willing to pay more for sustainable products.
Really?
Yeah, they want to support companies that are, making responsible choices.
Interesting.
And HKT is definitely tapping into that market.
Yeah, and I bet that gives them a real competitive edge, huh?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It sounds like they're ahead of the game then. But their packaging, it's not just the honeycomb paper, right?
Not just that, no.
I remember reading something about like corrugated cardboard and even like biodegradable tapes.
You got it. They're using a whole combination of stuff.
Okay, so break that down for me, like the cardboard. I mean, isn't that kind of standard?
Well, yeah, corrugated cardboard is pretty common, but
Right.
that's kind of what makes it so great. I mean, it's readily available, affordable, easy to recycle.
Right, right.
Plus, it's super strong, especially good for preventing, like, crushing, which obviously is important for furniture.
Right.
So, yeah, they're not, like, reinventing the wheel here. They're taking existing solutions and, using them in a smarter way.
Okay, so it's like they're not trying to be flashy, they're just trying to.
Be effective and sustainable, yeah.
Okay, and what about those biodegradable tapes you mentioned?
Oh, yeah, see, that's what I mean about attention to detail, right?
Mm.
They're not overlooking anything. Even the smallest parts of the packaging are designed to, minimize their impact.
Wow, so they're really thinking about the whole life cycle of this packaging. From productions all the way to disposal?
Right, it's not just a quick fix, it's a total overhaul.
Yeah, that's impressive. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the environmental benefits, but does this actually, like, move the needle on sustainability?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, ASKT is a great example of this concept of the circular economy. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Remind me.
So it's this idea, right, where you keep resources in use for as long as possible.
Okay, yeah,
And by using materials that can be reused, recycled, biodegrade, that kind of thing,
yeah,
they're really cutting down on waste,
right.
minimizing their impact.
So it's like they're not just thinking about this one shipment. They're
Exactly.
thinking about the long-term impact.
Long term, for sure. And it all ties into this bigger trend we're seeing. Consumers, they're really starting to care about where their stuff comes from,
Right.
how it's made, what happens to it when they're done with it.
Yeah, definitely.
Like the article mentioned, people are way more aware of the environmental impact of, well, everything, really.
Yeah, and they're actually willing to put their money where their mouth is, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They want products that are made responsibly,
Uh-huh.
and they want to support companies that, align with their values.
Right, so ASKT is not just doing the right thing.
They're smart about it.
Yeah.
They're tapping into this growing market of,
Of conscious consumers.
conscious consumers, exactly,
Who are actually actively looking for
seeking
something.
out these sustainable options. Yeah.
Yeah, so it sounds like they're really onto something here.
Oh, for sure. And the article even mentioned that, a significant number of people
Hmm.
are even willing to pay more
Really?
for sustainable products, like a premium.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. So all this to say, AskKT's commitment to sustainability,
Yeah.
it's not just some PR stunt.
Right.
It could actually give them a real competitive advantage.
It's smart business.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's a win-win. They reduce their impact on the environment,
Mm-hmm.
and they potentially, attract even more customers who appreciate their efforts.
Exactly.
Okay, but let's get back to those packaging materials for a second.
Sure.
We talked about the honeycomb paper, but I want to dive a little deeper into, what makes it so effective?
Okay, so, like we were saying before, that honeycomb structure, right?
Yeah.
It's what gives it that remarkable strength, especially for how lightweight it is.
Right.
And so it can really absorb impacts, protect the furniture during shipping.
So it's like plastic foam, but...
Way more sustainable.
Okay.
And it's funny, because the design is basically, inspired by nature.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Think about beehives, right?
Yeah.
Super lightweight, but because of that honeycomb structure, incredibly strong.
Huh.
So they're basically borrowing from nature's blueprint.
That's cool.
Yeah, to create this, better packaging solution.
So it's like biomimicry.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Okay. And then plus it's made from recycled paper, and then it's recyclable itself.
Yep.
So it really does fit perfectly into that. Yeah.
Circular economy model.
Yeah.
It all comes full circle.
Yeah. All right. Now, the article also mentioned corrugated cardboard.
Hmm.
And that just seems like, your pretty standard
Yeah. Run of the mill.
packaging material.
Yeah, you see it everywhere.
So what makes AskT's use of it, so special?
Well, it's funny, right? Because the fact that it's so common, that's actually a good thing.
Oh.
It means it's readily available, it's affordable, super easy to recycle.
Right.
And plus, corrugated cardboard,
Yeah.
really strong, especially for protecting against crushing, which, is obviously important for furniture.
Right.
So again, they're not trying to reinvent the wheel,
Right.
just using existing solutions in a smarter, more sustainable way.
So they're taking what works and they're like, okay, how do we...
How do you make it better? Yeah.
Okay. And then remember those biodegradable tapes and adhesives?
Oh, yeah. Can't forget about those.
It's like they're not letting any details slip through the cracks.
Exactly. Every little thing matters. Even the smallest parts of their packaging are designed to, have minimal impact.
So it's a really comprehensive approach.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
They're really committed to, eliminating plastic waste at every level.
It's impressive.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the environmental benefits, but let's get back to the customer for a minute.
Sure.
And, the actual cost savings, how much are people actually saving by choosing ASKT?
Well, it can be significant, especially, like we were saying before, for people buying those bigger pieces.
The sofas and stuff?
Exactly, like sofas, dining tables, things like that.
Yeah.
And a big part of that is just avoiding those plastic taxes.
Right, right.
Which can be a big chunk of change. And then, of course, the lighter packaging means lower shipping costs across the board.
Yeah.
The article actually said that some customers have seen savings of up to 15% on shipping alone.
15%. Wow, that's not...
That's not nothing.
No, that's not nothing at all.
So, yeah, it's a real tangible benefit,
So it's not just like, oh, I feel good about making a sustainable choice.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'm actually saving...
Saving money.
Yeah.
And helping the planet.
Exactly.
It's win-win.
It is. Okay, so it sounds like they found a pretty good formula here.
True.
But zoom out a little bit. What if more furniture companies followed ASKT's lead? What kind of impact could that have?
Oh, man, the potential is huge. this kind of thinking, this approach to packaging,
Yeah.
became the industry standard.
Right.
I mean, think about how much plastic waste we could eliminate.
Yeah, from like manufacturing and shipping and all of that.
It would be huge. Just a massive win for the environment.
For sure. But I imagine there would be economic benefits too, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, for one thing,
Yeah.
it would level the playing field a bit, for companies that are already making these sustainable choices. And, it could even lead to more innovation.
Yeah.
People coming up with even better, even more eco-friendly packaging solutions.
Right. So it's like ASKT is starting this.
Ripple effects.
Yeah. It could inspire this whole waves of change.
Across the whole industry, yeah, maybe even beyond.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, they're setting an example, showing that sustainability and profitability, they can go hand in hand.
Okay. Now, I know some people might be thinking like, okay, this is all great, but sustainable products, they're usually more expensive, right?
Oh, yeah, that's a common misconception for sure.
Yeah.
And, sometimes it's true, some sustainable products might have a slightly higher upfront cost.
Okay.
But you got to look at the bigger picture,
The long-term value.
Exactly. I mean, we've already talked about, potential savings on shipping.
Avoiding those plastic taxes.
Exactly. And, you also have to think about things like durability, resale value, well-made, sustainable furniture. It's going to last longer. So when you factor all that in,
Right.
but the overall cost, it often evens out.
Okay, so it's not just about the initial price tag.
It's about understanding the real value,
Yeah.
the longevity of the product. And this is where, transparency is so important.
Right.
Companies like ASKT, they need to do a good job communicating
Yeah.
the value proposition, highlighting not just the environmental stuff, but also the long-term savings, the high quality.
Right. So it's about empowering the consumer to make
An informed choice.
an informed choice.
Exactly.
Based on all the information, right?
And, that kind of transparency can really change how consumers view things.
Yeah.
They start to see sustainability as an essential part of any good product.
Not just like a premium feature.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, so it sounds like ASKT is really shaking things up. They're showing that it's possible to
Do business differently, yeah.
and that's pretty exciting. But what about the future? Does the article mention anything about like what they're working on next?
It does. They're always looking ahead, it seems. They mentioned some pretty interesting stuff, like,
Oh yeah? Like what?
well, they're apparently exploring, like, bio-based plastics.
Bio-based
Made from seaweed.
seaweed.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I know, it sounds kind of crazy, right?
A little bit.
But
yeah.
the article said they're looking into it.
Okay, and what's like the advantage is that?
Well, seaweed, it's a renewable resource, right?
Right.
And it doesn't need land or pesticides or fertilizers to grow.
So it's like
Pretty ideal, yeah.
yeah. But I mean, are there any challenges like could they actually replace traditional plastics with this stuff?
Well, that's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, scaling up production, that's a big hurdle.
Right.
Like, can they make enough of it to meet demand?
Yeah. Yeah, and the article did it say anything about like durability?
Yeah, they touched on that. It sounds like researchers are still working on, making these bioplastics more durable, making sure they can hold up to, everyday use.
Right, so it's not a simple swap. There's still a lot of like
R&D, yeah.
okay. But it sounds promising.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And it really shows that ASKT is committed to this.
To continuous improvement?
Exactly, yeah. They're not just settling for, like, a quick fix.
Yeah.
They're constantly pushing the boundaries, looking for ways to improve.
I like that. Okay, so big picture, what's the takeaway from ASKT's story?
Well, I think what they're showing us is that sustainability, it's not just like the right thing to do ethically, it's also a smart business move.
Yeah.
They're proving that you can reduce your environmental impact,
Mm,
appeal to this growing market of, conscious consumers,
right.
and even save money in the process.
So they're kind of flipping the script on its head, like that old idea that sustainability has to come at a cost.
Right. It's like, no, actually, it can drive innovation. It can be profitable.
Yeah.
It's just good business all around.
And I mean, that's a message that I think a lot of companies need to hear.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I mean, if ASKT can do all this, what's stopping everyone else?
I know, right? The barriers to entry, they're lower than ever.
Yeah.
The information's out there. Consumers are demanding change. And companies like ASKT, they're leading the way.
They're proving it's possible.
More than possible, it's beneficial.
Right. So it's like, what's the excuse at this point?
Exactly.
Sustainability, it's not just a niche market anymore. It's like,
It's the future.
yeah.
The future of responsible business.
And it doesn't have to be these huge, like, sweeping changes, right?
Right. It can start small.
Yep.
Choosing more sustainable materials, reducing waste, rethinking packaging, that sort of thing.
Just recognizing that, like, every choice we make as businesses, as consumers.
It has an impact,
Yeah.
and we have the power to make those impacts positive.
So it's time for companies to step up, right?
It's time to embrace the challenge. Yeah. The future is sustainable.
And it's up to all of us to make it happen.
Exactly.
Well, this has been a fantastic deep dive. I feel like I've learned so much about ASKT and their approach to, revolutionizing the furniture industry.
It's really impressive what they're doing.
Yeah, and it's so inspiring to see a company that's not just talking the talk, but actually walking the walk.
Couldn't agree more.
So to everyone listening, take note. Sustainability isn't just good for the planet.
It's good for business, too.
It can be good for business. So thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll see you next time for another fascinating look into the world around us.